how often we see themes in either the calls that I'm doing or in um, the workshops that I'm running. So anywhere where I'm showing up and working with people, it's always interesting to me how much there are themes that happen. So I have the privilege of talking to a variety of different business owners across all sorts of different industries on workshops, my clients, obviously, in our coaching sessions, on some one-to-one sessions where people have booked a little breakthrough session with me so we can talk about where their business is at and where it wants to go. And it always makes me smile how often there are themes in those conversations, and then they immediately reflect as themes in my life. So last night I had a day where my brain was going to all the bad things. You know what it's like as a business owner. You have good days and you have days where even though good things are still happening, your head's telling you you're not doing a good job, it's not working. I had some tech issues on a call, which my clients were all very understanding about, but it was a bit frustrating from my point of view that I couldn't get it right. And so I was like, just feeling like that, feelings were down, thoughts were a bit intrusive and not the right ones for feeling motivated to do anything I'd agreed with myself that I was going to do. And so I sat down on the couch, got some chocolate out, and I poured myself a glass of wine. I was like, I'm just going to sit and scroll, wait for the family to get home, and then we'll do dinner. And I scrolled like 3 posts. And then the third reel or the fourth reel was someone talking about how you never feel worse after you go to the gym. And I was like, damn it. My agreement with myself is that I go to the gym 5 days a week. I do it mostly because of my head. It clears my brain. And so the very reason I wasn't going and keeping that agreement with myself was the very reason I go. So I was allowing my reason for going to become my excuse to not go. And it was so funny to me because I had a little laugh because I literally had that conversation today about employees not keeping their agreements, so not following through on systems and processes. And I'm always interested to have a little chat about, okay, cool. So these are your agreements with your team that they're going to follow the system or they're going to use this process. I'm curious, is there somewhere for you in your business and the way you're showing up as the leader and things that you're doing for them that maybe you're not following the system and process, where you're breaking the agreement with yourself before you're seeing it and breaking an agreement with someone else? And they were like, oh, yes. And so if you're starting to see this kind of reflection back to yourself of places where you're like, man, we agreed on that. We talked about this standard and this expectation. We talked about how we're going to make these things work. And you're like, oh, why is it so hard to get people to follow through on their agreements? It doesn't matter who they are. It could be your customers. It could be your suppliers. It could be employees. It could even be your kids and your partners. Where if you're seeing places where agreements are not being followed through for you, the immediate place that we want to go and have a look at is in the mirror and look at ourselves and be like, okay, well, where am I not following through on either an agreement that's like this or an agreement with myself where I said to myself, I'm going to do that. And then we chose not to for a variety of different reasons. And there are always good reasons not to follow through with an agreement. But when you start doing that with yourself, your brain's like, oh, it's okay not to break agreements. It's okay. That was a nice double negative. It's okay to break agreements. It also looks for evidence where other people are breaking evidence to make you feel like you're okay, that you're breaking. It's okay that you're breaking agreements. Look, there's all these other people breaking agreements. That's why you see more and more of it at that time. And so often when we stop and we have a look at ourselves and go, oh, where am I breaking in agreements that I said to myself I was going to do this thing? That will help us to shift and start focusing more on where people are following through. Because as a general rule, with all of those groups of people, whether they're suppliers or customers or employees and even the kids, it's probably likely that they're doing more of what they agreed with you than they're not doing. They're probably following through on more of the agreements than missing the agreements with you. Whereas because of the way you're looking at things, where you're like, I'm looking for reasons to say to myself subconsciously that it's okay to break agreements, then you're going to see more of the places, more of the evidence that other people are breaking agreements. And why does that happen? And what happens because we're pack animals ultimately. And so your brain is looking for evidence to show you that it's okay to break those agreements. It's okay not to do what you said you were going to do because look, all these other people are doing the same thing. And so you'll see more of that than what you really want to be seeing is where people are following through, because you have way more evidence that people are following through than not. So how do we fix it? Well, we want to look at ourselves and go, where am I not following through? Where am I sitting on the couch and scrolling instead of going to the gym workout I said I was going to do? Where am I, drinking coffee instead of drinking the water? Where am I not responding to emails in the time frame that I said I was going to follow through on? Where am I not doing the thing I said that I was going to do with my team? So it might be that you are late delivering something back, right, to your team. And so you are getting that reflected back to you and how long it's taking them to come through. I always look, especially if I'm working with teams, I'm always curious if I'm seeing a behavior in the team, I'm going to see a similar behavior reflected in the leadership team. And why is that? Because people catch more is caught than is taught, right? Your kids are far more likely to copy what you do than to do what you say. And that's the same with all human behavior. Inherently, when they watch and see you doing something or hear you doing something, they're far more likely to duplicate that than actually do what you ask them to do. So notice where you're saying something, one thing, and doing something else. That's going to be really important to notice that disconnect. When you notice that disconnect as a business owner, your job is to go, that's interesting. Do I need to change it or do I need to say something else? Stop saying things if you're not going to follow through with them. Adjust your language and then move from there. Or sometimes, like me last night, I was saying I'm going to the gym and I wasn't going to go and I needed to change my behavior. So you want to make sure that our words and our actions are aligning, because then your brain will seek out more and more places where other people's words and actions are aligning. And so people will follow through on more of the agreements. You'll see more evidence of all the agreements people are following through on. And then if you're not able to shift that, we then use some pretty simple processes once we've shifted our behavior and we're noticing it in ourselves and we're making those changes in ourselves. Then we have some pretty simple frameworks for having some conversations that are clear about where are our expectations, why we have those expectations, and how we want people to follow through on them. Because human beings, we get a lot of input every day. So we want to make sure that we're reminding people of our expectations. If you think about, as a human being, how many people ask things of you every day, it's kind of, human nature that we're going to forget some of them. And so you want to have a good process for reminding them what the standard is, reminding them why we do it, and then asking them to meet that expectation. And so that's the framework that we use inside our program to get people back to our expectations, to get those agreements following through, but only after we've had a look at ourselves, so that we're not sitting on the couch mindlessly scrolling instead of going for a workout, so that we're not saying we'll respond to emails on a timely basis and we're not following through and then getting frustrated when other people don't do the same things. So go and have a look, see where you've made some agreements with yourself, see where they might be slipping a little bit, tweak them or change the agreements so that you're following through, because then you'll get more evidence of everybody else in your world following through too. And that'll be a much smoother business experience for you than it would be if you were looking at it from the other frame. Have a wonderful day.